What's up, homies? Today I'm up on another hike. It's a super nice day out. It's actually really warm. Like last time I was kind of freezing, but it's been kind of like 30s, which is kind of weird for this time of year. But I'm not really complaining because it makes the hikes a little nicer, you know. But today I wanted to talk about just inheriting your indomitable human spirit and then kind of using delusion a little bit to kind of fuel that. So for a lot of you guys that might not be as terminally online, a couple of years ago, like 2022 or something, like the indomitable human spirit memes started popping up, at least for me on my TikTok. And that was kind of like a precursor to like all the hope core content, which is kind of starting to die out a little bit now. But anyways, the indomitable human spirit is just kind of the idea that like no matter what kind of trials or tribulations I have to face, like us humans as a species just have this like innate drive to always get back up and always keep facing down your opponents and push yourself to 110%. Like, I don't know, a lot of examples are like people like one man armies against like 100,000, or like I guess like the Spartans, like those 300 fighting the Persians and stuff like that, like those last stand moments, or facing like an opponent that you're never going to beat, like Rocky or David and Goliath or something like that. But all those are just kind of different examples of what the indomitable human spirit is. And that was like a big trend in 2022. It was just kind of similar vein to Hope Core, just kind of slideshows trying to motivate you. It had just upbeat music. Um, but through that, I kind of learned about, I'm not really super into poetry, I'd like to be, but I learned about this poem called Invictus. And I wrote it down just so I could read it for you guys. So, but anyways, the poem, I think this is one of my favorite poems, just because, like, one, I don't really read a lot of poetry. I don't really know how famous it is, but it's just a really cool poem that I kind of resonated with a lot. And so it's Invictus by William Ernest Henley, and it goes, out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstances, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horrors of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I kind of had a hard time reading my own handwriting, but anyways, you guys might have heard that last little phrase, like the I'm the captain of my fate, I'm the master of my soul. Line from Timothy Chalamet. I know there's an audio going around for a little bit, kind of rephrasing that in a way. But I really like that poem. Like, it's just kind of the idea that I don't really give a shit about destiny or fate or anything. Like, I am the one that can like essentially knit my own threads and decide what I'm doing. So in the context of like an indomitable human spirit, like I don't really care if the world is kind of beating me down and that I should be feeling like sad or lonely or angry at whatever. Like, I'm just going to get back up and keep trying over and over again until eventually either I get it right or something else pops up that might be better. In like the coaching aspect, when I was coaching, like a lot of times I would tell kids, like, especially kids that have been wrestling around for a while. Alaska's a really small community, so you kind of know who's good, who isn't, and stuff. And like a lot of the really good kids see each other a lot just growing up. And so like some of our kids that had wrestled for a while would kind of almost like lose matches before they had even started, because they'd be like, oh, I'm wrestling so and so, and he's like a state champ or multiple state champ, and he's really good, and all this other stuff. And I would always like talk to them and just be like, look, man, I don't really care who he is. Okay, every match starts 0-0. Like, they don't win the match beforehand. Okay, you just go out there and you give me 110%, and no matter what the outcome is, if you can walk off and say that you gave me 110%, like that's more than anything I could ever ask for. And then like the wins and everything will fall after that. And in a lot of ways, that is just like the indomitable human spirit. Like, I don't really care if you're like a 4-time undefeated state champ. Like, I'm gonna come at you relentlessly and just keep attacking and attacking and attacking until eventually like you break and I don't. At least when I wrestled, I that was my biggest like advantage over people. Like I like when I started wrestling, I started later than a lot of kids, and I didn't win a single match. Like my only win my first year of wrestling was against a girl that had beat me earlier in the season. And she was really tough, to be fair, but like I didn't win a single match. The next year I won like maybe like a handful, but it was mostly losses. But like I kind of enjoyed it. I kept trying to improve and get better, and eventually there was kids that were like just naturally really good growing up, and I kind of surpassed them just because I just relentlessly just kept trying to improve and trying to get better. And I've kind of tried to keep that idea going with like the kids I coach. Not necessarily that like skill's gonna win or anything like that, but it's just kind of like just nitty gritty. Like I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna brawl and scrap, and eventually the other person's just gonna break before I ever do. And that can apply to a lot of things. Like, really, I wanted to talk about this one because it's kind of something that is really important to me. Like, I feel like, especially the last 2 or 3 years, if you ask my friends, like anytime I'm about to do anything, I just kind of hit them with the like, I'm just built different, guys. I got the indomitable human spirit and I can do whatever I want kind of idea. In the last video, I want to say, I kind of, or a couple videos ago, whenever that was, I kind of talked about like not wanting to, that I don't really necessarily like the idea of like thinking of yourself as the main character, just because in a lot of ways, like people use that to kind of think that other people are NPCs and that their opinions don't matter and like feelings don't matter. And I still feel that, but like when it comes to overcoming challenges and overcoming the different things, like you got to think of yourself as the NPC. It's got to be like, I don't know, finish this workout. I can hit this PR. I can come out of this breakup and grow as a person and everything. And that just is the indomitable human spirit. Like, it's not really even about being perfect and not losing and not faltering, like not showing weakness or anything like that, because that's not really it. It's the fact that like I'm gonna get beat down 10 times and I'll come up 11 times. Like I won't stay down. Like it's like in I don't even remember which movie, but Captain America has that one line where he always just says like I can do this all day and stuff. And like, yeah, like you can do this all day. You can just keep struggling, keep fighting. Another thing that I wanted to talk about that I kind of learned about back in the day, like a couple years ago when all the indomitable human spirit stuff was kind of popping up, was I read The Myth of Sisyphus like 4 years ago. And I want to say it's Albert Camus wrote that. But basically, like, I'm just going to cliff notes because I don't really remember most of it. But it's this book that kind of talks about like this guy named Sisyphus who does something to the gods and gets cursed to eternally roll a boulder up a hill. And it's like the worst punishment because it's kind of like you roll the boulder up, you think you accomplished something, and then all of a sudden it just like rolls back down. You have to restart. So it's just this constant loop that Sisyphus has to go through where he's just roll boulder up, rolls back down, then you're rolling back up. And obviously, like, it's kind of like a metaphor for how absurd life is and just our existence is. But one of the lines, like, towards the end of it is, like, kind of talking about how Sisyphus could just kind of end his own life or kind of give up, just go into the status quo and just roll that boulder, hate his life, and let the gods torture him that way. But the biggest act of rebellion is to just kind of, like, for Sisyphus to just have fun while he's doing it. Like, every time he reaches the heights, he accomplishes something and he can laugh. And, like, one of the last lines is, like, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. And I think that's also part of, like, that idea of just overcoming different things. Like, life is absurd. Life is, I don't want to say it's cruel. It's not good either. Like, life just is. The world just is. But in a lot of ways, like, some people just are unlucky and they won't catch a single break ever, and they're just going to keep getting, like, beat up over and over again. But you're going to be that much stronger for it. So if you kind of just push through it, know that things will be all right as long as you just keep moving forward, like, one step at a time. And some of, like, my hardest times, I you just kind of got to keep working. Like for me, it was probably like 2022 and like last year were pretty rough in certain portions just because of like different things like I don't know, just stress from school or like situationship problems or like friendship breakups, random stuff like that, you know? And it is easy to just kind of like lay down and just be like, all right, I'm done. It's over. I can't do this anymore. But like a lot of times you just I don't know, just lock in basically. Like when I wrestled, I would always repeat this mantra to myself. And it's kind of obviously like it's a little more wrestling themed, but like during my warm-ups, I'd always be like hood up, just bouncing around, warming up. All my friends and everybody and my coaches knew that like while I was warming up, I was just kind of trying to get in the zone so they wouldn't talk to me. But I was just sitting there like repeating like what I realize now are affirmations. Like I had been just sitting there like repeating this to myself, but it's called like the wrestler creed, and it just goes like I'm thankful for the opportunity to wrestle. I'm aggressive and relentless. I'm not afraid of losing or making mistakes, and I'll never ever give up. And I would just keep repeating that in my head over and over again, um, and that would help me get ready for my matches. But like looking back on it now, like that was something really good that I had picked up on somehow. I think I got it from like a senior when I was a freshman, of just using affirmations and just like repeating stuff until I basically just believed it, which plays into like that using delusion for your indomitable human spirit. So in that case, like I'm aggressive and relentless. I'm not afraid of losing or making mistakes, and I'll never ever give up. That just ties into that like no matter what, I want to give 110% in all my matches, and everything else besides that doesn't matter. It's just if I can come off that match just exhausted, having pushed my limits, that's really all that matters. Um, and I think that still applies for a lot of things in daily life. So like I was saying, like 2022 and 2024 were really rough. And instead of just kind of feeling shitty for myself, I kind of did for a little bit, you know, that's normal, that's natural. But my mom has always kind of instilled like a growth mindset in me. And so any chance I get, like anytime something happens, like I was saying, like friendship breakups or like situationships or, which I know is something I'm exhausted of. Okay. The modern dating is actually hell, but you know what? I'm learning every time, I hope. And we'll get off those dating apps someday, boys. But every single time something like that happens, like some obstacle gets in my way, I just learn. Okay, sometimes you'll just smack into the wall, bounce off, and then kind of cry to yourself a little bit. But you know what? You just get back up, and then you just get back to what you were doing, and then you're just that much stronger for it. So part of my delusion, honestly, is that I have this mindset that like no matter what I do, even if something goes like horribly wrong, or even if I'm like hurt really badly, you know what? Like time will always heal any wound. And I might have like scars emotionally or whatever, physically, but at the end of the day, like I'll be all right. So I just gotta have full faith in myself that things aren't as bad as I think, and that like no matter what comes my way, I'm just gonna always be able to overcome it. With my friends, I always like I joke about like just being built different and stuff like that, but like also like I'll say stuff like, guys, like right now I'm hiking, right? Like if it was summer, if a bear came at me, okay, I have full faith that I can fight that bear and win, okay? That's just how much I fucking believe in myself right now. And would I be able to actually fight him and survive? Probably not. No, not at all. Like I'd probably do some cringe ass like anime shit and then just instantly get like mauled by the bear, and just somebody would find like my bloodied mass hours later or something. But you know what? I have full faith I could win that fight. I also had this joke with some friends that like if one of my friends had a knife and I was barehanded, I'm not saying I wouldn't die, but I would win the fight, okay? And that's just kind of the attitude you kind of have to have, whether it's like with sports or workouts or with other things like, oh, I'm super, like for me, for example, like law school is something that is kind of hard and a little bit unattainable at the moment because like my family doesn't really have that much money. I'm gonna have to go in like super debt to do that. But you know what? I want to prove people wrong. I want to push through whatever misconceptions I have of myself and what I can do. I've never really been much for studying. Like, school has always just been pretty easy. So I have no idea how to really study. And like, you have to take the LSAT to go into law school. But like, every single point that you get extra is basically like $10,000 of extra scholarships and stuff like that. So I've been like studying real hard for that. Hopefully I can do good, and I have pretty good faith in myself that I will be able to get into like a good law school and have it paid for, like the majority paid for, and not have to go into too much debt. But that's just kind of the mentality you have to have. This last week, a kind of different example, it's more like a physical one, but since I started training jiu-jitsu at the start of January, like, I've been not necessarily more busy, because in the past, like, I was still coaching, so I had my wrestling practices like basically at the same times that I have my jiu-jitsu practices now. But I also started lifting and then going to extra jiu-jitsu practices. And so like this week especially, I'm burnt out and pretty tired. But like the week beforehand, I had gone to all the fundamental classes and then some extra jiu-jitsu classes and then lifted a few days. This week I went a step further and did the same thing, like all the fundamental classes 4 days a week, then a few extra classes after that, and then also lifted after that. But I lifted every single day, and that's already like improvement for me, because a week ago I was just too exhausted to do that. And like this week I didn't go to all the classes I wanted to go to for jiu-jitsu, but I mean, I can always go next week, you know? Like, every week I'm trying to improve. I know that like I might be tired, but my mind is gonna quit before my body does, basically. You always have like that guy in the back of your head that's just gonna kind of tell you to just quit, just stop. And what you have to do is kind of just drown it out. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say it's that flow state that people talk about, because that's kind of different. I feel like in flow state, it's similar to where like your mind is shut off. Everything is just kind of muscle memory, and you're just competing to your highest level or creating to your highest level, doing like really concentrated in what you're doing. What I'm talking about is mostly just kind of like just that blind faith in whatever you do. I don't necessarily have to be like so locked in that like everything zones out, but like my mind isn't really doubting me, you know? Like, I just kind of drown it out with those positive affirmations. I think that's a really good thing to do. Like, I don't do it as often now. Or I guess that's a lie, actually. I do. Like, anytime I'm tweeting, like I tweet a lot, and anytime I'm like taking some variation of some like anime phrase, like throughout heaven and earth I alone am the honored one, or I'm the man that will become a stronger person and stuff like that, like taking that like One Piece, like I'm the man that will be the pirate king stuff. Anytime I'm doing stuff like that, that's like affirmations for me, I guess. So I think writing down your affirmations is really good. It really shapes your perception, and like, it's it's dumb to say it, but like, there's a reason why like psychologists and experts and stuff like that tell you that it's good for you. Like, who would have thought that the people that know what they're talking about know what they're talking about, you know? So yeah, just writing down affirmations, having that blind faith in yourself, and then just be like absolutely delusional, whatever it is, like whether it's physical, like I was saying with like me and wrestling, or like the kids I coach, or like my workouts, whether it's like some goals you want to have, like for me, law school. For a while there was this thing about like, burn your ships, okay? Like, and obviously like they did horrible things and stuff like that, but like when the Spaniards went to the Aztecs to conquer them, they like burnt their ships so that there would be like there's no way to come back unless they like conquer them, basically, or something like that. And like, they did fuck things and horrible things to like the Aztecs and decimated like populations and everything like that. But like, mentality wise, that goes pretty hard. Like, I have so much faith in myself that I'm just burning every option for myself. Like, I'm burning the bridges, I'm burning the boats, and there's no coming back unless I'm successful. And you can always kind of go back. So like, I don't know, you just get different options, right? Like, let's say you shoot for the stars, right? Like, you want your dream job, you do all this stuff, you prepare, you get all the certificates, you do everything you can to get that job, and then for one reason or another you kind of fall short. Like, maybe you don't have that same boat anymore because you burned it down and you didn't reach your destination, but now you have like a brand new boat that you can sail a little bit further than you could with your old boat, you know? Like, everything you do is a learning lesson. You just have to kind of be able to take the time to say, like, okay, when I went on this date with this girl and she wasn't interested in me, like, was it because I'm a horrible person and nobody will love me? Well, no, it's probably because we just aren't compatible, you know? And you just kind of keep adding on to that with different things in life. So that's about it for now. Just be delusional, okay? Give yourself affirmations, and the grander the better, okay? I I absolutely love, like, for anybody that's seen Jujutsu Kaisen, just the idea of like Gojo going absolutely feral when he basically awakens and stuff, and like that, like throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored phrase. Like, that's always just playing on loop in my head. Um, and I don't know, like, as cringe as it is, like, look at characters from media that you really like and can almost like embody, I guess. Like, for me, I guess like Gojo's one of them, just because I think it's really funny. Like, Guts from Berserk is another one. He's just like actually the definition of like indomitable human spirit facing a cruel and unjust world. Like Luffy from One Piece is all kind of like that, like a little bit like a Sisyphus kind of thing, where like the world's absurd and like just having fun and stuff like that. But like each one of you guys should have like a character or somebody, like a person in real life that really inspires you to push forward and just keep like being relentless, whether it's like through workouts, through your goals, whatever it is. And again, like I was kind of talking about in the last video, each one of us is on a different timetable and we have different goals, right? Like, for example, I don't know, like I never max out on workouts. But like, let's say like my bench was 250 or something stupid like that, right? And I'm like looking at that and I'm like, damn, that's kind of small. Like, somebody else can hit like 350. I should be able to hit 350. And then somebody else might be looking at me and saying like, damn, that guy can hit 250. I can only hit 180 or something. So like, don't compare where you're at, what your goals, what your aspirations are. All you have to do is just beat your old self. Like, if my old self, and that's without any resentment, you know, like, I'm just always trying to improve on my old self. Like, one of my friends says this now a lot, like, I'm trying to be 1% better every single day. And I don't know if growth is ever like that. You definitely take a few steps forward, a few steps back, you're learning, you're tumbling through it. Nobody has life figured out, and that's really the best way to do it. Like, you just kind of have to mess up a few times, but I just have to look at, like, in the past, this is what I could do. I learned my lesson. This time we're gonna try it, we're gonna adapt, and then whatever happens happens. I'm not really scared of failure because I know that, like, no matter what, the indomitable human spirit is just gonna carry me forward and take me to wherever I have to be. And my delusion is telling me that no matter what, things are gonna turn out all right for me. So just keep that in mind, guys. Things are gonna be fine and they're gonna turn out all right. You just gotta keep stepping forward, keep walking, and keep pushing yourself. So yeah, that's all I have for now. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see if the next video is a hiking video. So yeah,